thanks for joining us for another episode of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tinisha Spain, and today joining us on the show, one of our panelists that you know, and she's going to be teaching us about something special that her and her students are going to be doing in the classroom. So let's go now to Jen, have her introduce herself, and tell you a little bit about where you can find her these days. So Jen, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Jen Nelson. I'm a horticulturalist. You can find me in lots of different places. I'm online at groundedandgrowing.com. I do a little bit of consulting and article writing there. And I also teach Hort 105 vegetable gardening at U of I. And it's kind of a new endeavor for me. And we are getting ready to have our first week of in-person classes, and our lab is starting up, and we are testing out a new lab for this semester that we're going to share with you guys.
Awesome. And you know what? It's been so long since I've seen a chalkboard. I'm actually excited. Like, usually they're whiteboards or smart boards. Like, there's an actual chalkboard in your classroom.
Yes, there is, and my kids get a big kick out of it. They love to write messages in here.
Yes, yes. It makes you think of days gone by. So when I
Right.
got this message from you last week about what you guys were going to do, I thought you were a little crazy because it involves toilet paper and spores and all kind of stuff. So tell us what you're going to be doing and give us a nice walkthrough of the project, because I think this is totally fascinating. And this is something that people can do at home, right?
Yes. So kind of just walk you through kind of where this came from. In the fall, one of our lab things that we do is carving pumpkins. And believe it or not, there are a lot of college students that have never carved a pumpkin. Carving pumpkins is a very American thing. And if you're not from here, you probably have never done it. So I was looking for something to replace that lab for the spring, because obviously we're not doing pumpkins again. And looking through seed catalogs, one of the things that caught my eye are mushroom kits. And I've done a couple of mushroom kits with my kids, and the ones that I did were too expensive to do on a bigger scale for a class. But I remembered something I had heard of some years back of growing mushrooms on toilet paper. And it sounds completely disgusting, right? It's completely got a gross out factor. And that's probably where the crazy part comes in
I thought you
from
were
my
nuts.
head.
I'm like, you're going to do what?
But it makes sense if you think about that mushrooms or fungi are part of the decomposers in the ecosystem, and they are typically breaking down wood products, logs, etc., leaves, plant material. And so, I mean, toilet paper is basically wood. It's cellulose. It's the same material that the fungi are breaking down um, in the woods. It's just in toilet paper form. So there is a company that sells classroom kits of all that you need to grow oyster mushrooms, which are very tasty. That's what I grew. I think I brought it on the show when
You
we
did,
were,
yeah. We watched the
yeah,
process with you and the kids.
yeah, when the kids loved it. So I figure if my little kids will love it, I think the big college kids will like it too. Um, we are going to start this process. It's much bigger process, than a longer process than what I have done personally at home, because what we're going to do is add the mushroom spawn, which is what it's called. I'll show you that in a minute, to this roll and allow it to sort of permeate the roll and grow for a while before we trigger it to produce the fruiting bodies, which is what we eat. So we're going to be growing gray dove oyster mushrooms. And I'll show you what those look like. If DJ can get a shot of that. It's the one in the center on the top.
The white one there in the center. Hold it up just a little
Yeah.
bit higher. Yep, now we can see it. So
Ah,
those are oyster mushrooms.
yes, those are oyster mushrooms.
Can you
So
explain the flavor of an oyster mushroom?
yeah, to me they have a very meaty texture.
Okay.
I used them in a stir fry, and they were almost like chicken.
Okay.
My kids are not huge oyster fans. At least my son is not, and he didn't mind them that much. Uh, so when I ordered this kit, this is enough for 7 rolls of toilet paper, and it's like this brick of grain that has mycelium growing on it. So that's fungus growing. That life's the mycelia, this sort of white fuzz, is growing on the grain. this is not the part you would eat, but this is what we are going to basically kind of like seed the toilet paper rolls. We're going to dip the toilet paper rolls in boiling hot water.
Yep, she's at school, folks, so you're going to
I'm
get the real
definitely at
experience.
school. It's like bringing everyone back now for a minute. But
Yes.
so we're going to dip the rolls of toilet paper in boiling hot water, let them cool, so the boiling hot water will sanitize the rolls, kill any kind of unwanted fungus or germs that would be there, because there's fungus drifting in the air. We just, think of the mold that pops up on bread if you've left it around too long. There's all kinds of stuff in the air. So we're going to boiling water, soak them, let them cool off, and then we're going to fill the center of the roll with this grain with mycelium growing on it, and then we're going to put that whole shebang into these special bags that came with the kit that have a vent, and we're going to seal them off with a rubber band, but there's some gas exchange to that vent, and then we're going to incubate them in a room that the temperature is kept between 65 and 75, and that'll stay like that for about 3 weeks, and after that they should be nice and fuzzy with the mycelium. There should be obviously fungal growth, and then we're going to chill them for a period of time, at least 48 hours. And then after that, when you bring them out into room temperature, that should be the trigger that it will produce what's the fruiting bodies, what produces spores. So that would be what I showed in the picture in the catalog, the part that you eat.
So from day one until the day of harvest, what are we looking at as far as time goes?
Probably a 4 to 6 weeks
Wow, so that's a
period.
good project.
Yeah, so it'll be a while. Like we'll take care of it to a point, and then the fruiting part, the students will take home and have to take care of their baby mushrooms. So I, everyone seems excited about it today. I got some good response in class, so I'm fingers crossed that
Fingers
this will be.
crossed.
Yeah.
Now, is this a one and done? Will they be able to, harvest oysters from the same roll,
They
over and
should be
over?
able to harvest more than one harvest, but it's going to kind of dwindle off. Um, Definitely, if you were somebody, there's ways to do this on actual logs and such. You can set it up for a longer period of harvest, but you should get more than one according to the instructions.
Awesome. Well, we will have to check in with you throughout the whole process so that we can see, because I
Yeah.
know there are a lot of people at home that are probably like, I could get into that. I've got a little time to invest in that.
There's a pretty serious catalog that came with this kit that you can go down a rabbit hole and be gone for a while with this with growing mushrooms. It's like a whole niche of vegetable gardening that I don't think a lot of people really delve into very much. So yeah,
Very
it's interesting.
cool. Very cool. Now, how would this kit, and I know you haven't done this one yet, but how does this one differ from the smaller one that you did at home with the kids? Because you didn't use a toilet paper roll for that one, did you?
No, what's very different is that what I bought was a block. It was like a core fiber, so a coconut fiber and coffee grounds that was already the fungus had grown into. So it was already full of mycelium, kind of like this bunch of grain, but it was in a compressed brick. So I didn't have to do the step of waiting for 3 weeks for it to grow. I just had to soak the brick and then mist it and keep it in a nice warm area, and the fruiting bodies, the part that you eat, started growing within a
Gotcha.
week or so. So there was a lot of legwork done for me, and that I think is probably why those kits cost a little more
Yeah.
than this toilet paper kit.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. Well, we will certainly be checking in to find out how they're growing and how the students are taking to them throughout the semester. We've also got some questions that were sent in, and one of them was addressed specifically to you. So move over, Chuck. Jen's got fans now as well. So let's jump into a couple of the Facebook questions that we posted. This one is from Diane O'Connor, and she wants to know, what should she be doing with her elephant ears and cannas? She's got them overwintering in pots in her heated, partially sunny basement. They're alive, and some of them still have leaves. So she wants to know how to kind of get them to limp along until they can go back outside. So what's your advice for Diane in Springfield?
I would say since they're still actively growing and she has them in a heated area and they still have leaves on them, she could very carefully keep them as they are. The thing with overwintering tropicals is they're all going to naturally slow down over the winter time because there's less sunlight. Even though it's heated, it's still getting less sun than what they would in the summer. So I would be very, very cautious about overwatering, like maybe watering it once a month, if that, letting it dry down. And if they start to kind of go dormant and lose more leaves, that's okay. Just make sure that the bulb itself is not getting soft and rotting or drying out. It will get like wrinkly if it didn't have enough water. But I would very carefully, very much observe it regularly. Um, and just keep doing what she's doing. And with the cannas, as we get into spring, a lot of times those just put on so much growth over the summer. She might want to check and see if she needs to divide it if it's just so jam packed in there. I have not done cannas in pots myself, but people that I know have, like they really can
Oh,
almost
yes.
break the pot. Yeah, I
And
think
they
you're
won't
one.
bloom. And that's how I knew. I kept asking Karen because
Yeah.
that's one of her favorite flowers, and they wouldn't bloom, wouldn't bloom. So she said, "You need to see what's going on in the pot."
Mhm.
And holy cow, it was just completely full in there. I mean, there was no room. So
I know how
that
much they
explained
grow
it.
yeah, I know how much they grow in my garden when I dig them. I'm like, my God, what would they do in a pot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so but that's a good point. If they get too crowded, they won't flower.
And you can't even tell, from under the soil. I had no idea that there were so many under there. So you really do have to dig them
Mhm.
up sometime and find out. Okay, this one is from Madeline. This one is specifically for you. She says, "Can't wait. It is almost planting season. My question is for Jen, and it's about a house plant called String of Pearls, which I know is one of your faves, or you like that whole family, the string
Yeah.
family, I will call it. She wants to know, do you prefer top or bottom watering? And then also if you missed yours.
I will just like offer a disclaimer that this is like one of my favorite plants, but it's also one that I have killed the most often because I just keep getting sucked back in because it's really unique. And if you haven't seen it before. It just looks like peas on a string, hence the name. But I have one right now that I think is 3 or 4 years old, and it's doing quite well. And it actually flowered over the about November December timeframe. And I'm doing something right. And I think what I'm doing right is I'm really letting it have a rest over the winter time. I barely water it at all. I like just this morning, actually after reading her question, I was like, "Oh, I haven't watered my string of pearls in a while," and I soak it. It's in kind of a different planting situation where um it's not in a traditional pot, but um, I did do like a bottom soak to it and then let it drip dry. And it's actually in a hanging basket, so I hung it back up. Um, Over the summertime, I water it a lot more regularly, and it's a lot more actively growing then. This is, again, back to sort of that tropical situation in the previous question that things are slowing down over the winter time and they're hardly growing at all. So you're just wanting to keep them alive, and too much water will start them rotting, and that happens really easily with string of pearls.
Okay. And so do you try to get yours like over to the sink to soak it all the way through? Or do you
That's what I
water, that's what you do? I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
people say that, and then they end up picking up a bunch of strings or pearls all the way there and all the way back. But that seems to be the way
Yeah.
that most people get success.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna like change what I'm doing right now because it seems to be working really well. Really backing off on the water over the winter has been a game changer for me.
Okay. All right. And then one more question. Lorraine Herforth wants to know if you can give some advice on winter pruning small accent trees. So, is this the time of year that we should be pruning?
It is a good time of year for pruning in general because you can see the branch structure. The thing with the small accent trees, if they're flowering, if they're spring flowering and you're doing the pruning now, you're likely removing a lot of those flowers, and it's not going to kill the tree, but if the flowering is very crucial or critical in your mind, you might want to wait until right after they flower and do your pruning then. But if it doesn't matter to you, and if you've got the time now, and you know that after it flowers you're going to be so busy you won't be able to do it, there's no reason why you can't do it now. And honestly, I kind of like doing it better when there's no leaves present because you can see what's there and kind of take a step back. And with any kind of pruning, I would suggest a couple of things. Like one thing is to take a picture and print it out. One one thing is to take a picture and print it out, and you can actually you can do this on the computer or just do it on paper where you kind of sketch out which branches you want to remove. Also, when you're actually doing the pruning, don't like get in there and start cutting a bunch of stuff and then step back. Like take a couple of things out, step back and look at it. Um, you can't put stuff back once you've cut it. So be very deliberate in what you're doing and, take your time and don't go too crazy at it. I kind of use the example if someone is like tweezing their eyebrows for the first time, like you need to pause and take a look. Make sure that you're not leaving yourself with nothing to go on because it will take a while for that plant to recover. And sometimes you can totally destroy the structure if you're not careful.
Yikes. Okay, so have a plan, like you said, before you go out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Jen, thank you so much for answering questions and for letting us know about your project that your class is going to be doing, and we're going to find out how that turns out. So thank you very much for coming by.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jen. And now that we're all thinking about houseplants, let's check out a segment that we did at Plant Mode with owner Mathis Helmick earlier this year. All right, here we are at Plant Mode in downtown Champaign. I'm joined by the owner, Mathis Helmick, and we're going to talk about some plants that may be better for your more experienced plant person, and also some desirables that came out of this huge explosion of plant parents during the pandemic. So take it away. Give us the tour.
What are people looking for?
What are they looking for? Yeah.
So people got into plants. They got some easy plants. They got some more difficult plants. And Instagram told them they needed certain plants.
More.
So I try to get certain plants for those type of folks.
Yes.
So I don't know.
The Instagram crowd.
Yeah, this is
Ooh.
check it out. Some leaves are going to fall off it because
It's
a
that
little
time
finicky.
of year, right?
Yeah, Ficus triangularis variegata.
Oh, fancy.
Triangle-shaped, variegated ficus plant. Ficus are a little fussy when they get moved around. They can drop leaves, but this is gorgeous.
That is gorgeous.
So people who get those generally know what's up about it.
It's good eye candy.
I'm a big fan of these philodendron silver swords. There's not a lot of silver-colored plants out there.
Now let's talk about this because this is people, it's pricing.
Yeah.
So what makes this guy so fancy, so special?
Generally availability.
Okay.
I mean, there are giant mega growers out there that supply the big box stores, and they definitely start like, hey, this plant's on the radar as something we need to put into production. After they do that, things that are super duper hard to find become more available, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And then I try to pay attention to that stuff too. If I have a wholesaler that's like, I can get these, they're really hard to find, they're this much, I sort of look around and see who's selling what locally, or if the big box stores have them. There's quite a few plants that a big box store would carry now that I feel like they didn't carry a lot. This is a begonia maculata.
Beautiful.
I'm not going to call this rare or anything. They're also called like batwing begonias or angel wing begonias. They're like little spaceships to be the
That is pretty.
little silver dots.
So you have to pay attention to trends.
Try to, yeah.
It's not just these are good plants, it's what are popular plants.
And sometimes more than like me Googling like what's popular today, it's based on my clients just kind of being like, hey, can you get me, you got me one of these before, here's my list. And sometimes I'll be like, those are the 5 rarest plants in the world. I can't find those, but this one here was on an availability list. And then I reach out to my growers. There's a couple of them that will send me some pictures. We have this, it's going to be about this much, it's in that size. It'll be there next week if you want it.
Wow.
And then, so it's pretty cool to make people like real happy when they're
I'm
you got
sure.
that so fast.
They're probably peeking in the windows on the day to come pick up their order.
For sure. This is an example of a plant that is at big box stores these days. So it's, it's a $26 plant. It's probably $18 at like a Home Depot or something. But it's a Scindapsus moonlight. It's called a Sentinel satin pothos also. I just think they're pretty great. A lot of my clients are like, I'll pay $3 or $4 more bucks or $10 more bucks to buy from you instead of a big box shop. No big deal.
Sure. Supporting small business.
Yeah, so another kind of silvery plant. I love the Rhapha decursiva.
Ooh.
And this is a vine that grows. Right now it's like, I'm just doing this.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it makes this turn. and goes up, and then the leaves start to split. So you see it in just sort of different stages of growth, which I think is pretty cool. And if we were to Google image this and put the word mature in it, they'd be like this tall.
Wow.
These leaves would be about 2.5 feet wide with these big dramatic splits in them.
Oh, wow.
And this is another spaceship plant.
So is your house an indoor jungle?
It's getting there.
Yeah.
I go through phases.
Okay.
I go through like, I want to intake a bunch of plants. I'm into this. And then I sort of look around. I'm like, I own a plant shop. I'm going to take these to the shop. I'm going to tell people this was from my house. It's only this much. Or I'll give them away. But yeah, right now I'm in an intake mode. So I do occasionally look around. It's a small apartment I live in, so it's pretty easy to jungle up.
Yes. I bet the oxygen is just pristine.
I like to think so.
Yes,
I like to think so.
What else? What else do we have?
And another philodendron that I like. This is called Jungle Boogie Narrow Form.
This gives me alocasia. Alocasia vibes?
Alocasia vibes?
Alocasia, there we go.
Yeah, no, I think people can say things how they say them, and I don't believe I'm ever pronouncing anything 100%
It's tricky.
accurate.
Those Latin names will get you.
Yeah, and when people come to the counter and they say blah, 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 and if I feel like it's hitting my ear wrong, I'm just like, it's right over there, you know?
I'll find
We're
it.
all learning stuff every day, but I love all these, like, this is very Jurassic to me, too.
Yes.
And these get really big. These leaves can get, that big. And this whole plant can be a floor plant that's like, 3.5, 4 feet tall. They're pretty rad. This is another philodendron. I'm a big fan of philodendrons. They're all either vines or little shrubby bushes. But I mean, we've got tiny little growth.
Great growth in there.
And I just like how the leaves unfurl. And they're just always reaching and doing their thing.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
When people come in, do you find that they know what they want, or do they just kind of stumble in and think, I want one of everything?
Two different types. Yeah.
Okay.
There are people who are
collectors, maybe?
So there's a couple really good plant groups here in town. Hashtag CU Plant People is probably my favorite.
I'm a member.
And hashtag 217 Plant Gang.
Okay.
That's something I feel like I started up, and I want everyone to join in and just show off your
check
plants
it out.
or do how you do. It's all friendly. But yeah, there are people who, such and such shop has this, or Plant Mode's got that, and they'll post it, and people will drive over from Bloomington on a Saturday or on a Wednesday or something.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll buy from the website, because every single item's on my website. For purchase, I throw a lot of things on my socials, and I'm really good about being like, I got 30 of these, y'all. Kind of like, calm down, I'll see you when you come in. Or, hey, I got 7 of these. And that's like,
get it while it's hot.
Those people tend to, a lot of the regulars snag a lot of stuff on the new arrival days.
Do you ship, or is everything curbside?
Everything, you can come in the shop for pickup, come in the shop and browse like normal times with masks. We're all vaxxed up in here and boosted, so that's why we're good like this at the moment.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, I'm a stickler. You can ask around. I think all my bad Yelp reviews are like from not opening early when people are trying to pull on the door, or from me being like, yo, no, what are you doing?
Where's your mask?
Yeah.
Any other gift ideas? What do you want people to know, this season, if they're interested in gifting a plant to a friend?
For sure.
What's a good rule of thumb? Any tips there for that?
Plan on coming in like 4 or 5 days before the holiday, whatever holiday you do, because you're not going to be able to hide a plant in a closet unless it's a Sansevieria or a ZZ plant or something. But generally, I get pretty busy that week. Gift certificates are a big thing here. A lot of people hit my website and just hit gift card and buy an e-gift certificate, which you can use on the website or here in the shop. Candles, even though I sell these great Kobo candles that have an 80-hour burn time, I send people over to Firedoll over on Neal Street. It's my friend who's making really rad candles.
Nice.
That's right, I slid that in there.
That's right, little plug.
Firedoll Studios.
Little plug.
I don't know. People want plants. I sell a lot of plants in December to people who like plants. And then I sell a lot of gift certificates to partners of people who like plants. Or I get a lot of phone calls. My daughter goes to the U of I. She won't be back until winter semester starts, but I want to get a $50 gift certificate. Can you leave it in the shop for her to pick up, or blah, blah, blah.
Making it work through the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us come in.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful place, beautiful plants. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll have to come back and visit soon for sure.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. And every time I watch that segment, I'm reminded of how much more I need to buy from his shop. So next time we go, I'll be purchasing more. And just a quick note for you, when we originally taped that segment, Mathis was located on Chester Street in Champaign. He has since moved to 113 North Walnut in Champaign, and he's open Wednesdays through Sundays so that you can pop in there and get your plant fix. And again, I want to thank Jen and Mathis for being on the show today. Always a great time when they stop in. And for you guys, if you have any questions for our panelists, please send them in to us at yourgarden@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook. Just search for Mid-American Gardener. Send your questions in and we'll see what we can do to help. Well, the experts will see what they can do to help. And if you can attach a picture, even better. That helps them be able to diagnose your problem a little bit easier. And again, that email address is yourgarden@gmail.com. And don't forget to send a picture. We'll see you next time. Good night.